All right, so hello everyone and welcome to Online Learning Center. We are in our day 5 of big data training. So today we are going to talk about inspiration to word count. Okay, so in case you are watching this video through my YouTube channel, please check the description where you get the link of how can you get access to this document, examples and so on. All right, so what we know till now is we know what is big data Hadoop. We know how to install Hadoop single node cluster, right? And we have understood that in big data, in Hadoop, there are two things. One is a MapReduce and SDFS, right? So what does this SDFS do? They are used to store data. But what this MapReduce will do? This MapReduce will be used to process the data. Okay, now in this chapter, what we are going to learn is, we are going to learn how do we approach to solve a problem using MapReduce. Okay, so in order to understand that concept, what we will do is we will take the very basic example which everybody teaches, and that is called as a word count problem in like Hadoop. You go through any website, you go through any tutorial, everybody will first talk about the word count example, because this is a great example for us to understand how exactly the data is basically processed in MapReduce. Okay, so we have word1.txt where we have apple ball, apple ball and so on. Okay, now let us assume that this file is of size, let's say 1 KB. Okay, so we will go with a small number first. This file is of size 1 KB. Okay, now what is the objective of this program? The objective of this program would be to find out how many apples are there and how many balls are there altogether, right? So apple we have 1 2 3 4 4. Okay, and ball we have 1 2 and 3. This is what output I expect when I write a program to count the words in this file. Okay, now see, if you have just a small file, 1 KB of file, 10 KB of file, 1 MB of file, 10 MB of file, 1 GB of file and so on, you can definitely write a Java program or a Python program or any other program to find out the word out of it, okay, but the problem will be, what if this file is of, let's say, 10 gigs? Okay, then you'll have to solve this problem in a distributed approach so that the problem can be solved really faster. What if this file has a size of 100 gigs, right? Then you talk about the big data, you talk about MapReduce and all. Okay, so what we will do is, in order to understand the MapReduce, like the working principle of the MapReduce, we will start with this example word count example in MapReduce. Okay, now, so if you remember in the previous class, I had told you that in MapReduce, the data whatever we process, everything gets processed in form of key and value pair. Do you remember that discussion, guys? I've told you that everything that happens within the MapReduce framework are all in form of key and value, right? Where key would be something and your value would be something. Okay, so this, any problem you talk about in MapReduce, they all internally work in form of key and value pair. Okay, so if, let's say, this is the file which I want to process, then the first thing what should be done is, this data should be converted into key value pair. Okay, so I will say I have my raw data, I have word1.txt, which is a raw data, and it contains this data, right? It contains apple, ball, okay, apple, ball, apple, ball. This is the data which you have. Okay, now this is a raw data which would be automatically converted into key value pair. Okay, which will be automatically converted to key value pair, and then it becomes something like this. 0 would be my key. Okay, so see, each line would be converted into key value pair. Okay, so key and value would be line, and this would be number. I will say number, some number. Okay, some number, and then the line. So if I convert this, if the first line, if the first line gets converted into key value pair, then the key would be 0, the value would be this apple and ball. This would be the value. Okay, now second line, key would be, the previous value was 0 plus how many characters you have in the previous line. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, one space is there, 6 7 8 9 10 10, maybe one slash n is also there. Okay, 11 plus 1, how much it is? 12. Okay, so then your next key would be around 12. Okay, whereas your value would be the entire line, apple space ball, right? So your key is 12 now, right? Now again, for this next line, what would be the value of key? Key would be 12 plus this total. Okay, total lines, the total word of the previous line plus, now count this out, how many characters you have? 5 5 10 11 12 13 14, then 15 16 slash and 17, let's say plus 1 18. So let's assume there are 18 characters. Okay, so how much it would be? It would be 30, right? And what would be the value? Value would be just apple. And then you have ball. So again 30 plus previous line 1 2 3 4 5 slash and 6, let's say plus 1 7. How much it would be? 37. Okay, and what will be the value? The value would be ball. So this is how your data would be converted into key value pair. Okay, so you are processing a raw data. You are processing a raw data, word1.txt. Word1.txt contains all these lines, and each line will be converted into key and value pair, where the keys are all numbers and they are all incremented. Okay, the numbers are not random magic number. They have some formula. They are generated based on the formula, and the formula is this: the previous value plus the previous value plus the length of the line plus 1 slash n and plus 1, and that's how you keep getting this form, this data. We will look into this number later when we start doing a practical. Okay, at that time I'll count it and I'll show you that the numbers would be basically generated in this kind of using this sort of formula. Okay, so every line is converted into key value pair. Done. So this is basically done by your input formatters. Okay, so by default you don't really have to implement the input formatters. By default there are input formatters already available. So whenever the data is given, whenever you start processing the data, it basically would be automatically given to input formatters, whose job is to convert the data into key value pair. Okay, done. So once this data is converted into key value pair, then what happens? This data will go to your mapper. Okay, so see, the two important component, very much important, two important components in your MapReduce code is mapper and reducer. Mapper and reducer. Okay, mapper does its job, reducer does its own job. We will see that what exactly they do, right? So the data goes to your input formatter, and the data is converted into key value pair, right? After that, this goes to your mapper. Okay, this goes to your mapper. So in mapper, you'll write a class like this. You'll say class my mapper. Okay, I will not write the full syntax now. Okay, I'll just write the pseudo syntax so that I don't give you, like extra information right away, because we will look into that when we start writing the code. Okay, but right now we will just write a pseudo code so that you understand what is happening. I will not write completely what it is extending and so on. Okay, so you have my mapper like this. Okay, and now what we will do is this class will have a method called map. This class will have a method called map, which accepts key, which accepts value, which accepts something called context. Okay, so you will have a mapper class. Mapper class will have a method called map, which accepts three parameters: key, value, and context. What does this key will hold? This will hold these numbers 0, 12, 13, 37, 37, and so on. What will this value hold? This value will hold exactly this data. Okay, and that is what you get here. So you get the key, you get the value. Okay, now I want you guys to answer what the objective of our program. What exactly we want to do? We want to count words, right? We want to count words. So during while counting the words, do you have any significant role of the key of these numbers? Do you think you have any, like anything to do with this 0, 12, 30, and 37? Yes, no? No, right? Because all I'm interested in is these values: apple ball, apple ball, apple ball, and so on, right? So that means you can easily forget about this key right now. I have really nothing to do with this key. What will I do with this number? That number will never help me to find out the word count, right? So it is not of your importance for this use case. Now what do you have here? You have a value. Okay, so in this value, what do you get, guys? You get the complete line. You get the complete line. Okay, so let me tell you one thing, that this mapper class map method will be called n times. Okay, where n is nothing but number of lines in text file. Okay, is that clear? Can I get yes from everyone? Like if my text file word1.txt has 4 lines, then my map method will be called 4 times. If my word1.txt has 1000 lines, then my mapper.map method would be called 1000 times. Okay, as simple as that. So this would be called n number of times, where n is nothing but the total number of lines in a text file. So as per our example, how many lines do we have in the input file? 4. We have 4 lines in our input file. Okay, so what I'll do is this map method will be called 4 times. Okay, let's say it was called for the first time. For the first time it was called. Now in the first time, for the first time, what is the value of this v, guys? What is the value of this v? The value of this v is apple and ball. Okay, I want everybody to participate and reply together. So for the first time, v is nothing but apple and ball. Okay, now what I can do is I can split this apple and ball by using what? Some code, right? So I'll say v dot split by space. Okay, v dot split by space. So when you are splitting them by space, what do you get, guys? You get an array, is it? Okay, you get an array. So I will call words. I'll call words. And what is this? This is basically an array. Okay, now in this array, how many elements do you have? You have 2 elements here. You have 2 elements in this array. Okay, now what I'll do is I will iterate through these words. So I'll say for I'll write string. Let me write string word from words. Okay, this is an array. This is a single element. So what I'm doing is I'm using a for loop. So this for loop will iterate how many times? 2 times. First time, what the value of this word? Apple. Now what I'll do inside this is I will say this is a context object. Okay, what is the context object? We'll see that later. So this is a context object, and I'll say context dot write, I'll write apple and I'll write 1. Okay, so guys, this is just a pseudo code. Okay, we will see the exact coding in the practical part, because right now I just want to understand, I just want to make you understand how exactly they all work. Okay, so you should not ask me, hey, this not a text, is this not a long writable, right? They are, we will talk about that later, but let us try to understand the main intention of this like exercises to help you understand how to write the logic. We will look into the exact syntax later, right? But I just want to tell you what is the what is the logic you will have to write. Okay, now this is what we have done, and then we are saying context dot write apple 1 for the first time, right? So I'll not write apple, let me write word, let me write word. Okay, now again second time what will be the value of this word, guys? Second time the value of this word will be ball. Okay, and since the value of the word is ball, you will say context dot write ball of 1. Okay, so for the first line, for this first line, what did you do? You said apple 1 and you said ball 1. All right, now this is what happened for line number 1, right? So similarly this map method will be executed for line number 2. Yes. Okay, so for line number 2, can you tell me what will be the value of v for line number 2? The value of v would be apple ball, sorry, apple ball. Okay, now you will again do a v dot split by space. So when you do that, how many elements do you get? You get 3 elements for the second time. Okay, now this for loop will iterate how many times? This for loop will iterate 3 times, right? For the first time, what will be the value of word? Apple. And what are you going to return from this for loop? You'll return apple 1, right? So you'll return apple 1. Okay, second time, what will be the value of this word second time? Again apple. Okay, what are you going to return back here? You are still going to return back apple 1. Okay, don't get confused. You will not say apple 2, you will still say apple 1. Apple 1. Okay, third time, what will be the value of this word? Ball. And what are you going to return back? Ball 1. Okay, which means for every word, no matter if they are repeated within the same line, I am still saying apple 1, apple 1, apple 1, right? Similarly, for every word w, I will simply say w1, w1, w1. Okay, this is what we have done in our map map method. Okay, so this mapper map method would be executed 4 times. So this is first time, this is second time. Okay, now third time. So third time, what will be the output you are going to get? What the output for the third iteration, for the third line? Only apple 1, only apple 1, right? This is your third time. And fourth time, what will be the output? Ball 1. Okay, so once I'm done with this, can I say my mapper map method execution is over? Because I have done this for every line. I have done this for every line. Okay, so if you say no, then what do you think is left over here in the mapper code? Okay, so this is what we have learned so far, that whatever raw data you get, whatever file you get, all the lines of these files, each line of these files are converted into key value pair. Each line of these files are converted into key value pair, and then each line is going to your mapper map method, and in your mapper map method you will write some logic to see what you need, what you want to send it to the next level. Okay, now you may ask me, what is this context object? So let me tell you, this context object is a connection to your reducer. Okay, whatever you write in the context.write will go to the reducer. Okay, so this context is an object which can help you to transmit the data from your mapper to your reducer. Okay, so So this context object will be available in your mapper map method automatically, and and MapReduce says whatever you want to send it to the reducer, you just write it in context.write, and we will take care of sending it to the reducer. Okay, so this is what we have done. We have converted everything into key value pair. See, your actual data was this apple and ball, right? But then what happened was, when you started processing it, this data was sent, this data was first converted into key value pair. Once this data was converted into key value pair, it was sent to your mapper for processing. In your mapper, you received this data in form of key and value, where the keys were all these numbers, and these numbers are actually called as offset. Okay, so these numbers are basically called as offset. These numbers are called as offset. So in the map method, you got these numbers as offset, as key, and you got the entire line as a value, right? But then from the mapper also, when you're sending it to the reducer using this context, you are writing the data in form of key and value pair. Okay, you're writing the data in form of key and value pair, where key is all your words and all the values are just 1 1 1 1 1, right? Okay, now once this is done, now this data is ready to be sent to the reducer, but it is not sent to the reducer directly. There are few more things that happens. What are those? Can you guys help me out with this? If you know the basic fundamentals on Hadoop, I'm sure you will be able to answer me this. So what are the other thing that happens before this data goes to the reducer? Okay, so what happens is the data are shuffled and sorted. Okay, the data would be shuffled and sorted. Let me explain you what exactly it does and what exactly they are. Okay, so to help you understand that, what I'll do is I'll take a different scenario now. Okay, now I'll take a scenario like, let's assume you have two files. File 1, I'll call it word1.txt, and I'll call this as word2.txt. Okay, now the first file word1.txt, let's say it contains the first two line, apple ball, apple, apple ball. So this contains first two line, that is apple ball and apple, apple ball. And let's say word2.txt contains apple and ball. Okay, now I want you guys to answer me. Do you think the output of the program running word1.txt and the output of the program running word1.txt and word2.txt will give you the same output or different output? See, the only difference is the total amount of the total files. Okay, so if you say they will give you different output, what is the different output you are going to get? How are they going to be different? See, I'm talking about the final output. The objective of my program is, the objective of the program is word count. The objective of the program is word count, final word count, right? So as per my understanding, word1.txt, when I'm processing just word1.txt, then I'll get apple, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, and ball I will get 1, 2, and 3, right? Now here, see, I'm not talking about individual output of individual files. I'm talking about the overall objective. The objective of my program is what? Word count, right? So in my second case, this is case 2. In my second case, what I've done is I've divided the whole data into 2 files, but the content is same, right? So my final output would still remain same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Apple is 4, and ball should be 1, 2, and 3. Right? So because see, the data is same, then output should be same, is not it? Okay, now let us try to understand how this data will be processed. How this data will be processed if I have the data divided into two files. Okay, now since this data is divided into 2 files, let's assume this data is of size 1 KB, and let's say this data is also of size 1 KB, or you can also say 100 MB. Anything is okay for me. Anything you can think of. Okay, let us assume this file size is not crossing 128 MB, which is the block size, default block size in Hadoop 2 and 3. Okay, so let's say they are under the limit of 128 MB. Okay, now in this case, this will be single block B1. This will be another single block. Let's call it B2. Okay, so this is B1 and B2. So don't assume that one file got broken down into two blocks. No. So this is a single block and this is a single block B1 and B2, let's say. Okay, and let's assume you are actually running this program in your multi-node cluster, right? So you have 5 node cluster, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 node cluster. When I say 5 node cluster, I'm not counting the master nodes. Okay, so I'm just counting the slave computers, and roughly I'm saying, let's say we are working on 5 node cluster. Okay, now this word1.txt is broken down into only one block B1. Okay, and let's say this B1 is present here. Okay, similarly my word2.txt is broken down into only one block B2. Let's say the B2 is present here. Okay, so these are the blocks. Now what you have done is you have written your MapReduce program, and this MapReduce program will be in form of what, guys? Will it be in form of a jar file? Yes, right? And that jar file is what you are going to submit. What is the command? Do you remember? I forgot. What was that command which can help you to send this data? Yes, exactly. So it is Hadoop jar command, right? So you will write a Hadoop jar command and submit this. You'll use this Hadoop jar command and submit that jar file to be executed on B1 and B2, right? So that file will be, that jar will be here, and that jar will also be here. Okay, that jar will be here, that jar will also be here, and they will start processing this B1 and B2 parallelly. Okay, they will start processing this B1 and B2 parallelly. Okay, now think about only this node. Think about only this node. In this node, what is going to happen? In this node, what is going to happen? My mapper code will start working. Okay, my mapper code will start working. And in my mapper code, what is the method I have? I have a map method. So in this node where B1 resides, how many times my mapper.map method will be executed? 2 times. And why is it 2? Why is it not 3 or 4? Because it has only 2 lines, right? So the first line will be converted into key value pair before it goes to the mapper map method, right? So what will be the value, guys? The initial value here, 0. The initial value, the initial key, when I was talking about key, the initial key would be 0. Okay, and what would be the value? The value would be apple and ball, okay, with space. The second line, for the second line, what would be the key? Key would be like, add this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. So let's say 12. Okay, and this would be the value, apple space ball would be the value. Okay, now that is what is going to process under your map, right? So in your map you have what? Key, you have value, and you have context. Okay, so again, as usual, I have nothing to do with my key. I will just ignore the key while processing it. All I need is value, and my value I will convert. I'll split my value based on space. I'll get an array, and for each element within that array, I will just say word comma 1 every time, right? So what are you expecting output of this file? What are you expecting as the output of this mapper.map execution? What are you going to get? Of course, key value pair, but what exactly are you going to get? Tell me the data. So you get apple 1, you get ball 1, and for the second line, you get apple 1, ball 1, correct? So this is what you are going to get: apple 1, ball 1, apple 1. So the first 2 lines, apple and ball, is of line 1. The second 3 words are from line 2, but it does not really matter. And what is the logic you have written? Where exactly you have written, like, what is the piece of code that you have written which is emitting this data? You said context.write, right? You said context.write key and value. Okay, so if you say context.write, what it is going to do? Does that mean I want to process this data further and send it to the reducer? Yes, no? Yes. Okay, so this is what you get the output from here. Now similarly my b2 will also process the data, right? So b2 is going to process so this node will process the data which is present in your b2 block. Okay, so this is node 3 and b2 is a block, sorry, b2 is a block. Okay, so this b2 is also going to get processed here, right? Now what is the output you are expecting out of this b2? You are expecting apple 1 and you are expecting ball 1, right? This is from line 1, this is from line 2. Okay, so this is what you got the data, which means in this case if you see you had more than one file, right? You had more than one file and b1 and b2 are processed. So tell me one thing, b1 and b2 will be processed serially or will it be processed parallelly? Correct. So this will be processed parallelly because B1 is a different entity, B2 is a different entity, and both of this data B1 and B2 block will be processed parallelly by your mapper code, right? So they will be basically processed as within the container, okay, within the container, because we are all talking about Hadoop 2 and 3. So they will be executed in the container as soon as you say Hadoop jar and then you start processing this data. All right, now these data are processed and they are locally in this system. Okay, see, the processing is happening locally, right? Do you remember that term, data local optimization, which always says always try your level best to process the data as locally as possible. So b1 would be processed here, b2 would be processed here, and this output what I'm talking about, the context dot write output is here locally here. Okay, so they are locally here. Now when they are locally here, they are locally in their node, then you cannot really find out the count, because to count everything you need to bring them together, right? Okay, now once this is done, what will happen, this will go for shuffle and sort phase. Shuffle and sort phase. So in shuffle and sort phase, what happens, the data from all these computers would be assembled. The data from all of these computers would be assembled. So in our case, what we have is, we have the data here, we have the data here. Okay, so what will happen is the data would move somewhere. Maybe b2 data would move to b1, or b1 data would move to b2, or anything else, right? So let's assume that all the data from b2 moved to this place. All the data from b2 moved to this place. Now your b1 is to this node 1, I'll call it. Okay, I'll call it a node 1. So b2 data and b1 data are all together there in node 1. So in my node 1 computer, I have collected the data from both the machine, right? So I have now apple 1, ball 1, apple 1, apple 1, ball 1. That was from b1, and from b2 you have data apple 1 and ball. You have the data like this. Okay, so you have the data like this. So this data is what shuffled. That means they are mixed together into a single place. Mixed, done. After mixing, this is called a shuffle phase. Okay, mixing is called a shuffle phase. So this is mixing. Okay, so they were combined, so they are called a shuffle phase. Okay, after mixing them up, we need to sort it out. So now the data would be sorted like this. All A first, apple first. Okay, so you'll get all this apple first. Apple 1, apple 1, 1, 2, 2 more. Apple 1, apple 1, and then we have ball, 3 balls. Ball 1, ball 1, ball 1, right? So all these data are mixed together like this, right? So the data were mixed together and the data were sorted based on key. Remember one thing, by default the data will be always sorted based on key. Sort based on key. Okay, so after sorting, this is what you get. Okay, after sorting, this is what you get. So your shuffle and sort is also done. After shuffle and sort is done, then there is one more step before we give it to the reducer. Okay, can somebody help me out? Anybody knows what is that step? Combiner is optional, so we're not talking about all the stages here. We're talking about all the compulsory stages. So after shuffle and sort, there is something called group. Okay, so there is something called group. So now this data would be grouped based on key. Okay, so this data would be grouped based on the key. Now tell me here, how many groups do you see? If suppose I ask you to group this data, then how many groups do you see? I can see only two groups. And what are those groups? Those groups are nothing but apple and ball. Okay, so the data would be grouped like this, and all the value of apple 1 2 3 4 would be written like this. Okay, and you have ball you have three instances, so 1 2 3, ball will be written like this. So you have apple, you have ball, and the data would be represented like this. Now once this is done, then this would be given to your reducer phase. Then this goes to your reducer. So if you are talking about combiner, if you're talking about partitioner and all, they are extra steps which can be used to improve your processing power, right? So like they are by default not present in your default phases. So we are right now we are talking about the default stage, and all these are the default stages, right? So whether you cannot really like plug and play around with them. So they are the mandatory stages which would be executed at any cost. So the group will happen based on the key. So when I talk about key, this is my key, and when I talk about value, this is my value, right? So this is based, the grouping happened based on the key. So apple and ball are two groups which has 1 1 1 1. These are all values. These are all 1 1 1 1 are all values. Done. Now it goes to your reducer. Okay, now in the reducer you will have to write your program. You will have to write your program to see what kind of processing you want to do. Okay, to see what kind of processing you want to do. So you'll have to implement your own reducer. Let me write a simple reducer code, like a pseudo code, so that it can help you to understand what exactly it is doing. So your reducer code looks like this. Say public class my reducer anything. Okay, extends xyz, we will not talk about this as of now, that's okay. And it has a method called reduce, public void reduce. Okay, now this reduce will get three parameters, will have three parameters. The first one is key, the second one is value, the third one is context. Okay, now what you will have is, in your key you will have word, in your value, see this is your key, so this is what you will get here. Okay, this will be available to you as iterator. Okay, and then you will have the same context object. Okay, so when I say iterator, that means think about it as an array. Okay, so let me not write iterator, let me just write array right now. This will be available to you as a kind of array, so that you can go and access each element and start counting the total of it. Okay, when we start implementing it, when we start writing a code, that time I'll exactly show you what exactly they are. But for now we're just trying to understand the pseudo code, we're just trying to understand how exactly they work. So you have word, you have the array, whatever array you got here, and you got a context. Done. Now what you will do is, this reduce will be executed how many times? Can you guys tell me? Looking into the situation, can you tell me how many times do you think this reduce method would be executed? Only two times. Okay, so only two times. First time, what is the value of this word? What is the value of this word? The value of this word is apple. Okay, and what is the value of this array? All ones, all ones. Okay, now tell me one thing, I already got apple. Now what is the objective of this program? To count, right? So to count, do you really need to do something with word? No, all you need to do is play around with your array, right? Play around with your array. So I will just say array dot count. This is not the exact code, but I'm just trying to help you what needs to be done, right? So we have to count all these elements, and I will get it as a, let's say, total, int total. Okay, we'll write the exact code later. No, you cannot say len of count because you are going to do it in Java. Okay, so we will see that once we start implementing it. Okay, now that's what you are going to do, right? So you will see, I'll tell you one thing, your len method may also not work. The reason is, see, I agree that you have 1 1 1 1 here, but what if somebody has given 2, right? So literally you should not really rely on what length. You should actually go and count each of them even though they are 1, right? Because who knows that somebody went to the mapper code and he felt, for every line, if I get apple 3 times, then instead of writing apple 1 apple 1 apple 1, I will optimize it and I will just send apple 3. Possible. Okay, people may optimize the code anytime, right? So we will definitely have to go inside each of this element and then find out the total sum of all these ones. Okay, so we will have to do sum of it. We'll have to do a sum of it. Okay, anyways, so we will do all this sum and then we get the total out of it. Now what I have is, I have apple and I have total of it. What is the total of it? Total is 4. Okay, so this is what I'm going to write in my context. I have got access to the context as well. So I'll say ctx dot write, right? I'll say word, I'll say total, done. So I'm writing the data from my reducer file. Okay, in terms of context. So whatever you write from your context will be written back to the output file. Okay, will be written back to your output file. So it will be written into your output file. Okay, now similarly, this reducer will again run for your next group. This reducer will again run for your next group. So what is the key? The key is ball. The key is ball. What is the value? The value is all 1 1 1. And again, you get them as your array. Treat it as your array for now. Okay, so you'll say array dot sum, give me all the element and sum it up, and then you get it total. So once you get total, then you say it is 3. So you will say word of total. So you will get what? You'll get ball and 3. Okay, and they will be written to your output file. So your output file will have this content. Okay, now let me tell you that by default, there would be one reducer. Okay, by default there would be one reducer. You can also increment your reducers. You can also say, hey, I want to have more reducers. That's absolutely fine. Okay, but by default, when you are writing a simple program, we always keep our reducer to 1. So if your total number of reducer is just 1, then it will create a file called part -r -00000. Okay, the file name would be like this, and here you'll have apple 4 ball. Okay, it's also possible that you run your program with multiple reducers. You may say, hey, I want to have 2 reducers, not single reducer. Okay, that time what will happen? Data will be processed more parallel. Okay, so this is how your simple map reduce program will work. This is how your simple map reduce program will work, where you have the data went to mapper phase, mapper, then shuffle and sort, and then group, and then finally to your reducer. So let us just recap all the components that were involved while giving you this output file. Okay, so what I'll assume is, I assume that you have an input file like this. You have an input file like word1.txt and word2.txt. Okay, so you have an input file word1.txt, word2.txt, and let's assume the size of this file is 100 MB. The size of this file is, let's say, 200 MB, for example. Okay, I'm just taking a different use case now, so that you'll be much more clear. Okay, now this will be divided into how many blocks, guys? 1 block. I'll call it B1. Okay, this will be divided into how many blocks? 2 blocks. Let me call it B2 and B3. Okay, so B2 and B3. So now what you will have is, you have this data broken down into 2 blocks. One is B2 of 128 and B3 is of 72. Okay, so this is how your data is broken down into 3 blocks. Done. After this, the data was divided into block and they are stored in your cluster. So let's say this is my cluster, 1 2 3 4 and 5. These are my clusters, right? So your B1 is here, your B2 is here, your B3 is, let's say, here. So see, this data is already present in your SDFS. So the data is present here with no key value concept as of now, because the data is just stored, right? So the data is just stored. The data contains the raw data like apple, apple, ball, ball, apple, 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 ball, whatever you can think of. So they are all stored in B1, B2, B3 block like this, right? Now what we are going to do is we are going to run a MapReduce program on it. Okay, so what will happen? What will happen is each of this data, each of this block data would be broken down into key value pair, right? So your B1 data, your B2 data, your B3 data would be broken down into key value pair. Okay, now to make the life very simple, let's assume word1.txt contains 100 lines. Okay, let's say word1.txt contains 100 lines, and let's say word2.txt contains 200 lines. So what I'm assuming is, to make our mathematics very simple, I'm assuming that one line is equal to 1 MB. So 100 MB means 100 lines, 200 MB means 200 lines. Okay, so B1 will have how many lines, guys? 100 lines. This will have how many lines? B2, 128 lines. 128 lines. Okay, B3 will have how many lines? 72 lines. Okay, now they're stored in this file. They are stored in this nodes. Now for B1, what will be the initial key? 0. Okay, what will be the value? The line, entire line, right? Similarly, the next line would be, next value would be how much? 0 plus previous line length, let's say. Okay, the value would be the next line. Now similarly, let's go to B2, this B2 which is getting processed. What will be the first, what will be the value? The first line. Second line would be again as similar. Let's talk about third one, third block. What would be the first key? Will it be 0 or will it be all the like value of this last line? What do you think? See, B3 is what? A part of your B2. Yeah, plus 1. So I have not just written that one, but let's go with this formula. So it means the same thing. Okay, so this will still start with 0. This will still start with 0. See, how can you say that? It's very simple. Sometimes we have to just put our common sense, because see, all these things are supposed to be processed parallelly, right? So do you think B3 will definitely, see, if I say the first line will not be 0 and the first line key would be taken out from B2, then don't you think it has to wait till all the line of your B2 is processed? And Hadoop is not going to do that at any cost. It will not make your processing parallel otherwise, right? So it automatically answers your question that this B3 first line will be 0, not whatever line you have processed here. So don't assume that we will wait till this whole data is processed and then from the last line we will get the number and this number would be added here. No, that is not going to happen. It will also start with 0 because they will be treated as an individual block. See, at a file level it's okay, but when we are processing the data, we think about the data in a block level. I really don't care what I have in B2 or what I have in B3. I really don't care if B1 plus B2 plus B3 are same file or not. All I know is I have a block, I should process it parallel. Okay, so this is how the data would be present, B1, B2, B3, and we start processing this data in parallel, right? So the data would be processed parallelly and your key and value pair would be emitted as usual. Done. So once your key value pair is given, now this B1 data would be processed by your mapper. B2 data would be processed by your mapper. B3 data would be processed by your mapper. Okay, now I want you guys to answer mapper. What is a mapper, guys? Can I say it is basically a Java class? Can I say, from coding point of view, can I say that my mapper is nothing but a Java class? A Java class which I write, right? So if you are writing a Java class, its objects should be created as per the Java concepts, right? So what happens, whatever jar you are providing here and here and here, these jar files, okay, contains that mapper class. So JVM will create the object of that mapper class. Okay, why object creation is required? Because your map method and reduce method are not static, are not a static methods. They are basically normal methods, and to call the normal methods in Java, you need to create the object of the class, right? Yes. Okay, so the JVM will create the object of mapper class here. The JVM will create the object of mapper class here. The JVM will also create the object of mapper. Okay, done. So once that is done, the JVM will call mapper.map for each line, right? For each line, the JVM will call mapper.map and it will pass the entire line. When I say line, that means the key value pair here, because mapper accepts the data in form of key and value pair. So the keys are created, the values are created, and key value pair would be sent for each mapper. Okay. Now your mapper will have a logic to read the line, to split the data of a line based on space, because your word one contains the data like this: apple space, ball space, apple, and so on. So you will say split by space, you get an array, and for each such element of an array, you will say context dot write word one, and so on, right? So apple one, ball one, apple one, ball one, and so on. So this is what you get from each of these mappers. So all the mapper will start emitting word comma one as a key value pair, and then they all will be grouped together. So this is your mapper, right? After that, it will be shuffled first. Shuffled will be brought together, then sorted. Would be sorted based on A to Z, right? Based on the key, it would be sorted. Then it will be grouped. So when you group them, you get all apple. You get the data like this: apple and all ones, ball, all ones, and so on. And then it goes to your reducer, right? So in the reducer, you see the reduce method would be executed 2 times. Okay, now you may ask me a question like, see how many group you have, guys. If I assume that your word.txt file contains only apple and ball, your apple and ball contains only your word files contains only apple and ball, then you get only 2 groups, right? So in this two group, if let's assume the reducer, the total number of reducer you're going to use each just one. So what will happen is this reducer will first process apple, right? Calculates its total count, and then it will take the next group, ball, and again it takes the total count, and then it finally writes to a file called part_r files. Okay, this file is what you can see. You can open this file and check the content. That you will see apple count is, let's say, 30, ball count is, let's say, 40, something like this. So this part_r file is completely visible. You can open this file and you can verify what is the output you have. Okay, now here I have something to say, that this reducer can also be increased. Okay, see, the problem is when you are using just one reducer, if you are using only one reducer, then the same guy will have to count the total occurrence of apple as well as ball. Okay, and now let me assume that word 1, word 2, word 3, word 4, word 5, all these files contains all the words from A to Z. Okay, where A for apple, A for only apple will come, B for only ball will come, C for only cat will come, Z for only zebra will come, and nothing else. Okay, now as per that, can you tell me in the reducer how many groups will be created by the time it goes to the reducer? In the grouping phase, how many words, unique words, would be created? 26, right? You get 26. Now this 26 unique words needs to be computed by the reducer. So if you have only one reducer, then the same reducer will have to compute the word count for all apple, ball, cat, dog, dot 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 till zebra, which means it will take some time, because it will take some time to process apple, then it will take some time to process ball, then it takes some time to process cat, and so on. Okay, so if you are really looking for more speed, then what you should do, you should increase your reducer. How much? How many reducer you should basically use here? Any idea? If I assume that I have, 26 groups. So I think it would be better if I can use 26 reducers, so that one reducer is only concentrating on apple count, the other reducer is only concentrating on ball count, and the other reducer is, concentrating on cat, dot dot dot. The last reducer is concentrating on zebra count. Okay, so the total number of reducers should also be maximized if you really want to use the computing power and process them very much parallelly. So what will happen if you are using 26 reducers? See, if you're using 26 reducers, then your flow would be something like this. You have file, okay, say word1 .txt, word2 .txt, word3 .txt, word4.txt. Okay, so this data will go to your mapper. Okay, I'm not talking about the key value pair which is generated, assuming that it is already done. Mapper will emit the output. So mapper output, this will go to mapper. Okay, this will go to mapper. This is my mapper, and this goes to the mapper. Mapper will give you the output. Okay, and the output can be anything from A to Z. Output can be anything from A to Z. So all the mapper will give you the output A to Z. Okay, done. Now all this data would be collected together. Okay, so all this data would be collected together. So I'll say shuffle. Okay, so you'll have A to Z, 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 done, shuffle. And then you have sort, you are sorting them. So when you're sorting them, you get A1, 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 dot, 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 Z1, Z1, Z1. You have sorted all the data, done. Next, after shuffle and sorting, what you'll do, you'll say group by. So the data will all be grouped like this: A 1111, B 1111, dot dot dot, Z 1111. Done. So the data is completely sorted from A to Z, and then they are grouped by. Now you felt that I will use this. I will use 26 reducers. So you wanted to use 26 reducers. Okay. So if you are using 26 reducers, then what will happen is, suppose you have a 50 node cluster, 1 2 3 4 5 dot 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 dot, 50 node cluster. This is a 50 node cluster. So what will happen is, this A will go and get processed here, B will go and get processed here, C will go and get processed here, dot 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 dot, Z will go and get processed here. Okay, now every reducer will produce a file, part R 00000 dot dot dot, part R 00026 25. Okay, so 000102 dot 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 25. This how you get the data when you have multiple reducers, because multiple reducers are parallelly working on it, and they are processing the data for you, and hence you get to see, when you open the output file, you will realize that your output directory contains so many part files, and each part file is basically the output of your reducer. Okay, so in this process, two reducer will never talk to each other. All the reducers are given the task independently, and they just will focus on what task is given to them. They will not talk to anybody else asking them what the other guys are doing. Okay, so see, if you have 26 reducer, will it increase the network traffic or not? Okay, so see, that depends, because at the end of the day, when you want to process this data, right, either you send it to one reducer or you send it to multiple reducer, the amount of data which is traveling would be nearly same. The amount of data which is traveling would be nearly same. But the only advantage what you would get is, when you have more reducers, then you are parallelly processing that data. Okay, so if you really want to reduce the traffic, then you will have to do something locally. We have a concept called combiner, right? So here we have not discussed about that. We will not talk about it right away, okay, because it will be very difficult for you guys to digest everything in a single day. So I just wanted to keep it very simple, like this is how a normal word count program will flow. And my experience says, if you understand this word count example thoroughly, if you are able to diagrammatically represent this word count, okay, talking about all these concepts, learning MapReduce code would be very, very easy. Because whatever I have learned, whenever I've had any sort of doubt, I always used to think with respect to word count example. And trust me, many doubts were cleared in that example itself. And that is the only reason you, not only you go to any, like any trainers YouTube videos, but you refer any big author's book, you'll definitely find a word count as the very first example. Okay, now if you have any questions with respect to this context, nothing out of syllabus, okay, please ask me that. I will be happy to help you out. Okay, so there is a question. In your example, you have shown two separate text file of same type of data. Why? If we load all the data as one file, see, it's your call. If you want to load all the data, if you want to combine all the data in a single file and you want to give it to Hadoop, that is absolutely fine. Okay, or else if you have different data and you really don't want to combine it, that is also okay. Because Sometime what happens, you will get the data as a multiple files from clients, okay, from the place which is like from the source. And that time you really don't want to take that pain. Why do you want to take a pain of merging them together? Okay, next question is, how can we be sure that the input file is not split in between a line or a word while splitting between blocks? So see, this is not configurable, but this is basically a default standard of Hadoop, which says never break the data in between the lines. And I think I've already discussed about this in our previous chapters. Of course, when you are writing, next question is how MapReduce program will know which block of file needs to process. So when you are submitting a job, when you write a word count problem or any MapReduce code, you will have to tell the MapReduce code that you need to run this program on this data. So you'll have to pass the input file location as well while you are processing the data, and your program will be executed wherever the data resides. Okay, so do we need to pass the file name as a parameter for the MapReduce program? Let us not talk about this today because we have not done that programmatically, right? So once we start writing a code, that time we will see what are the things we can pass, and then it will be very, very clear to you. Yes, so if you have only 4 mappers and you have 6 blocks, then only 4 mapper will process your data and remaining will have to wait, of course. All right, anybody has any questions within this context? Okay, why do we need a sorter? See, the data needs to be sorted so that it can be grouped easily. Okay, next question is, when the file will get converted as a key value pair, which process will do it? Or when we copy the file to SDFS, will the file convert to key value pair automatically? No. When you are writing the data into SDFS file, the data would be stored as a raw data. Like the data will not be converted into key value pair. The data would be converted as a key value pair only when you start processing it. So your input formatter will do it. Okay, so number of reducer and mapper count will depend on any criteria or our own choice. So see, it is limited. For example, you cannot really launch. See, when you say I want to have 2 mapper instance, I want to have 4 reducer instance. Each instance is basically a JVM process. Okay, and the more number of instance you implement, it will consume that much of like uh, processing unit, your RAM, and all together, right? So you cannot really go and say, hey, I want to have 10,000 mappers out of nowhere, out of a 4 node cluster. Okay, so they are limited by your clusters. Okay, next question is, how do we set this reducer number to an effective number where reducers should not be idle or reducers should not be sought for the MapReduce program? You will have to really find out how many different group of data you are going to get. For example, if I have a COVID-19 data with me and I want to do an analysis on state wise, so how many state do I have, right? So you choose your reducer accordingly. Okay, now see, as part of this program, as part of the very first program, word count problem, all you need to touch your code is writing your mapper and writing your reducer. Okay, you are not going to code input formatter, you are not going to code anything like shuffle, sort, group by, and so on in this case. Okay, but of course, if the requirement demands you, you may have to write your own input formatters as well. Okay, so can we configure it programmatically? I mean, number of reducer based on the real-time data. As far as I know, you cannot do that programmatically. I mean, you will have to define this before you start running your job. So you'll have to understand the data. You'll have to understand how much of data is coming, and based on that, you should basically, uh, like decide your number of mappers and reducers. So see, by default, the number of mappers would be based on the number of blocks which you are going to process. For example, if you have 1 GB of data, then total number of mappers needed would be how much? 8. Yes, shuffle sort. See, whatever we have discussed today, everything will happen automatically. You just have to write your piece of code on mapper and reducer, and everything will be all taken care by the framework. Okay, one more question is, during shuffle, mapper will talk to each other? No, they will not talk to each other. Their output will be simply put together, so that the shuffle can happen, and then on top of it, sorting and group by can happen, but they will not talk to each other. Anything else, guys? Do you think I have missed any of the questions? See, the reducer will always take a unique key. If you look into this example, after grouping the data, let's say apple, ball, cat, dog, dot, 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 zebra. Okay, how many unique data you have? 26, right? And then no apple one will go to other key. See, what I'm trying to tell you is, once you have done a shuffle and sort, what you get is, you get, after sorting, you get the data like this: a1, 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 b1, 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 z1, 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 where a for apple, b for ball, z for zebra, dot, 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 right? Now they are already sorted, shuffled and sorted, and now when you group them, it will always form a group. This is one group, this is another group, this is another group, right? Now there is no chance of processing duplicate data. So this a1 will never go here, will never come here, will never come here. So all this a would be together, all this b would be together, all this z would be together. So all this a1 would be together, which means now when we create a group out of it, the group will be this a apple, and value would be all ones, right? So there is no chance that you get another a111. That will never happen. Okay, so you will always have a unique group called apple, ball, zebra. Now suppose if I have 26 groups, if I have 26 groups, okay, if I have 26 groups, then it is possible that you can still say, no, I want to use only one reducer. That's okay. A single guy will work and process all the data one by one. Okay, now similarly, if you have 4 reducer, then also it is okay. The first reducer will process couple of group, second reducer will process couple of other group, third will process a couple of other groups, fourth will process couple of group. Altogether they will process all 26 groups. Okay, can there be multiple mapper processing one block in parallel? That can happen only in case of speculative execution, which we have already discussed. It is possible that your piece of data is getting processed in two different places only in that condition. Is there any internal formula for creating groups? The key is the internal formula. For apple, there would be a group. For ball, there would be a group. Okay, how do you decide number of reducer in real time? I have already answered this. The total number of reducers can be defined by the total number of group. If you have all the data from A to Z, you want to count apple to zebra, and you are sure that there are 26 only occurrence, then you can better choose 26 number of reducers, right? But the real-time world may not be as simple as apple ball Z, assuming only unique data will come. There may be multiple A, there may be multiple B, there may be multiple Z, right? So in that case, what I will say is choose a decent reducer, experiment it out, because at the end of the day, what is important is how much processing power do you have and how fast can you go. If you want, you can choose 100 reducers, that's okay, as long as it is not impacting others. Okay, so what is the highest number of reducer allowed in the timeline? Please ask me this question when I am executing a program. That time I will show you what is the highest number you can go with. Right, so see, most of the things, like when you are like trying to think what could be the best number, they are completely based on trial, hit and trial method. You increment it, okay, and see whether is it really solving your problem, are you really achieving the speed, and again at the same time, is it really quick, again at the same time, is there people not complaining that you are eating up all the resources of the cluster. Okay, so this is what I wanted to convey you in this discussion. Like, this is basically a motivation, this is basically an understanding of how do you write a simple map reduce code wherein you will have mapper and you will have a reducer. So we have just understood that theoretically. I want every one of you, like that you take a piece of paper and do this exercise, whatever I'm telling you, do it on piece of paper, and that will give you complete idea about how a file is been converted into a word count. And trust me, this is a very, very important example. Like, although it looks very simple word count, but trust me, I have learned the entire map reduce by just keeping this concept in mind. If you master this concept, you'll be able to solve any problem, any sort of problem. You'll just have to understand, how do I decompose this problem into mapper and reducer? Okay, how do I solve this problem? How do I decompose this problem into key value pair? What should I decide in key? What should I decide in value? If you are able to decompose any problem in form of key value pair, you have solved 70% of the problem. Okay, now the remaining 30% would be writing the code and executing it. Okay, so we will see in the practical class, we will see what can you configure, what you cannot configure, because I really don't want to talk theoretically. That will make no sense, will confuse you, and will not help you understand in any ways. So let us wait till we execute a program, and then you can ask me all the questions. What can be the configurable things? What is the maximum value I can put? What is the minimum value I can put? Can I put my reducer to 0, right? And so on.